Alright, we are back with more laddering, in a sense, because yesterday I wasn't planning on continuing the laddering so soon, but I got into my Zoom class and I made my contribution, then I was like, well, there's my participation grade, so now what do I do? So I just continued listening, of course, but I decided, you know what, I'm kind of low on the ladders compared to where I want to be, and this series has to finish someday, so I decided to do some laddering while in class. Of course, I couldn't record that in case my teacher called on me or something, and I just wanted to keep going, and plus I play a lot better when I'm not recording live, so that helped. So I made sure to save the replays, and here they are. So this is not a replay from that session. This is the last game that we had in the previous video with the Solrock and whatever. So this is the last battle of part 23. So I just wanted to show that this was our starting point. So now we go against Spader S. So here we go. This is a Gen 4 game, as will soon be obvious. So I'm using the Xcal team again. He's got Latias. I get out of there. Specs Latias lead. I'm already thinking, uh-oh. What's this guy up to? And it's Modest Latias, and I'm like, oh no, am I facing my own team? The Skarmory, Scarftar, Dugtrio, Rotom, Calm Mind, Clef thing. And because, who else uses bulky, or who else uses Modest Specs Latias thing? Because I don't know if it's bulky yet. But yeah, so I gotta be careful with my Clef. Whoops, I skipped through that. Sorry. Alright, let's try this again. Gets spicy, gets a Broxite, spin him away immediately. I should put these on fast, actually. So yeah, I made the mistake of going to Clefable thinking he was going to stay in, but that was foolish. He just goes right back to Latias, and I decided to use Spadev Zapdos as an interim switch to Specs Latias. So I'm always wary of the Dugtrio double, but so that's why I didn't go back to Clef there, in case he decided to pick it off. But yeah, because Spadev Zapdos, this thing has Roar, and Calm Mind Clef does not appreciate unboosted T-Bolt, so I wound up getting Specs on my Zapdos, which is cool by me. So now I feel he's not going to double the Dug. So yeah, I get to get this thing healed up, and here's the nice thing about the Sticky Barb Clef. It can stay in on trick users with no fear because it has trick of its own, and if they trick, then they get a Sticky Barb. So yeah, very cool Pokemon. And I don't remember why I fired off the trick there, but I get rid of that Clef's leftovers, which is really nice. So now Seismic Toss actually pressures it because it is a clean 4-hit KO, doing 25% exactly, and Clefable has slightly under 400 HP. It's at 394, so it will, it cannot take 4 Seismic Tosses. So that's good for wearing it down with Soft Boiled, so that's how much +1 Ice Beam does to Spadev Zapdos, which is nice. And I got a run from Scarftar, and I know I live Crunch, or even a Pursuit on the Switch, but it crits, so I guess I don't. So here comes Donphan, and here comes Skarmory, when double switch to Fortress. I don't know why I didn't go to Moltres. That would have been a better move, because Fortress just kind of, provokes Rotom into coming in, but Moltres actually threatens the opposing team, because Latias is getting chipped, and T-Tar is getting chipped. Or Latias is weak, T-Tar is getting chipped hard by hazards, and doesn't want to risk Will-O-Wisp, and Clefable gets worn down, nothing else switches in, so I really should have gone to Moltres there. But Protect Furry is awesome, because, yeah, and he makes a nice move and gets my Clefable out of the way with Dugtrio, as I tried to switch in on the trick so I could trick the Rotom back, but it's fine. So yeah, I definitely should have been abusing Moltres there. That would have made me less vulnerable to stuff. To Dugtrio specifically. So, I should fix the dimensions. They're a little off. That's better, I think. Yeah, okay, so now I'm just making sure he never gets hazards. I mean, even if push comes to shove, I can always protect on the Rotom, and if he doesn't lock into Overheat, I can just stay in and payback it, and then Donphan will permanently wall the Skarmory and get him up. So let's skip through that spin, keep him off. Clefable, look at that, not even healing off the rapid spin. That could be big later. So, defensive Jirachi does not beat Calm Mind Clef, famously, but without leftovers, then it can waste Soft Boileds a lot more easily. So, no pair on Skarm, that might actually be beneficial, because I can spam spin more easily. So, yeah, payback there looking for Rotom, but he's aware, so he does not switch it into it, and I'm just gonna get the spin, go back to Jirachi, and yeah, it's not really switching into it long term. Yeah, with this team you gotta play super aggressive. Protect 4 is quite annoying to it. But of course there's always the threat of Calm Mind Clef. That's why this team, with the Latias and stuff, works, because Calm Mind Clef is such a threat to defense, even now. So I decided to absorb the trick with Moltres, because it gives me a fast flamethrower. Rotom can no longer check it, and Latias can't switch in to threaten it out once anymore. Has to come in after a KO, so I know that even if he pursuits on the switch, which he does to his credit, it's not doing very much because this is a very bold Moltres. So now I make the double 2 Moltres that I should have been making earlier, and you know, without lefties it kind of is more annoying, but still manageable because as we see here, the Scarfed Flamethrower, or I mean just the Moltres Flamethrower in general, is a threat. Since T-Tar's getting hacked apart by hazards, it can't take one anymore. As we said earlier, Latias comes in after a revenge kill, and now it's pretty much toast. So, I had forgotten that I put Thunderbolt on that thing. I think that was a good choice, probably. So yeah, now T-Tar comes in, and I decide to stay in, because I know it's a Stealth Rocking Scarf Tar, because it's my team, and it's an awesome set, so I just stay in and spin, and yeah, so this game should be done, barring Clefable miracles against Jirachi, which is not too unrealistic. Just pay back it for a little bit of chip, give Jirachi a little bit of help, but since it's physical defense, I don't want to give it too many Calm Minds before it switches in, especially because that might leave me in, well, I could wish and it'd probably be fine, but you want to minimize the turns Clefable has to get crits and paras against you to throw your plan out of whack, because it really is Jirachi or bust against the Clefable at this point. So, yeah, physical defense, Jirachi doesn't come close to dying, and that's a win, so good start. Next up, Sablesalt, also in DPP. So I'm going for Will-O-Wisps against this Nidoqueen lead, and he's getting up hazards, and he's a nice dude, so he was just, I didn't ask her anything, as, you know, I can show you the battle log, so I did not ask him to set up Stealth Rock for me. He was just a nice guy, and you know, decided to use Stealth Rock because I was missing Will-O-Wisps. So, thank you, Sablesalt. So I made sure to thank him. Anyway, so I get it now, and decided to go for another Wisp, because hitting Nidoqueen isn't really on my priority list, and burning something else, like Rotom, I mean, I was thinking more T-Tar, but Rotom works, is on my priority list, so decided to get up rocks, be a little aggressive. So now, with his spin blocker, I assume to be choiced and burned, then I can go to Donphan and get a spin off. So he goes to Dugtrio on Donphan, which is definitely not a good matchup for Dugtrio. And unfortunately, I roll a very low magnitude 4, so I'm not able to actually KO it. And the reason for Magnitude over Earthquake is because Magnitude has a ton of PP, giving this Donphan a lot of time to... a lot of turns to burn. Anyway, he goes to Starmie. I decided to stay in on the spin, trying to burn a sleep turn. But he just goes right for a surf and then spins, so he made me look silly there. Props. But I managed to wish with Jirachi and get Clefable healthy again. And Dugtrio is not going to be able to trap it as easily now, because it's been weakened by Stealth Rock and Spin, which took 17% from Spin. It's always funny. I love in Gen 5 when Alakazam takes an Excadrill Spin and it does like 50. It's great. So yeah, I decided to just take the trick with Donphan. And yeah, back to Clef. And I probably made a mistake here, being a little too hasty. I should have just stayed in to begin with. I should have just soft-boiled Spam more, but I decided to Sticky Barb, and I get the lefties, but it kills him. Maybe I should have done that first, so I still had to turn to soft-boiled, but actually, I don't think it mattered. So I just let Clef go, which kind of sucks, but I'm going to get my spin off, which is awesome. So Dugtrio takes 2 spins in this game, and the second one crit. I don't know if it mattered, but yeah, with Clef gone, then my rocks are also going to be gone, but I can probably maintain spikes because this Starmie is Surf, and that does not do well against specially defensive Payback Fortress, especially with Protect. And then suddenly there's an Abomasnow. We can switch sides so we can actually see the sprite, because I don't know why the back sprite for Abomasnow is broken in Gen 4. I think it's the same for, like, Mamoswine and Shiny Scizor or something. Anyway, and Garchomp too whenever you play Ubers. So yeah, now the Starmie definitely can't beat this Fortress. Not that it could before, because it's taking too much from Payback. But now with Hail neutering its lefties, then Fortress's lefties are neutered too. But we take out Starmie, so that's fine. And what comes in but a Walrein? So I like the team. Goes all in on the necessary hazard support while having the spin blocker and the Dug that synergizes well with that, and the Starmie. Starmie and Rotom attracting T-Tar and then dugging them and then bringing out the Walrein Abomasnow combo. That's pretty brutal. I like that a lot. So Super Fang, luckily Fortress is not too threatened by Walrein, so just keep spiking on it. See what its moveset is, because it's got Sub Protect, and then you don't know if it's got Brine or Blizzard or Roar or Super Fang. Luckily, without hazards, it's a lot easier to deal with. So, and since it doesn't have Blizzard, if it has both stabs, then it can be kind of annoying, but Jirachi can still probably outstall it. And Super Fang is annoying, but then it gives up one stab. If it's only Blizzard, then Moltres walls it. If it's only Surf, then Zapdos walls it. So it's fine, especially because it can't Super Fang Zapdos because it just roosts back up. And Zapdos, of course, has Pressure. Of course, the Zapdos also has Roar, so my hope was to Roar as Walrein used Substitute again, but he just went for the Super Fang, knowing he wasn't going to get anything done just by stalling, so that's more than fair. So Ice does a pretty decent chunk. I think he has attack investment on that Abomasnow, but I knew it could just roost up, because worst case, Wood Hammer or something, but that's still fine. So this game is looking... Oops, let me not skip too far ahead. So yeah, Roost. Now Moltres comes in on Protect, so yeah, nothing switching into Flamethrower with 3 layers of spikes, and can even burn Walrein if it comes down to it. So this game is pretty much already donezo. So back to Zapdos, back to just T-bolting, and yeah, it's GG. So Moltres finishes off Abomasnow. So thank you to Sablesol for being a good sport. So then we have this game I think was just kind of dumb. Well, not dumb, but because Mr. Jamai actually had a pretty high ladder ranking, leading off with Infernape and Snorlax is surprising because those aren't really used by top-level players. And there we see Snorlax doing 4% to Moltres, which is funny. So note that if Snorlax uses Pursuit, it doesn't also have Self-Destruct, which is... oh, here's the awesomeness of Clefable ruining a Trick user. Then, the nice thing is that it can always trick the specs onto something later. So, yeah, if Snorlax has Pursuit, it doesn't have Self-Destruct because they're not compatible with each other. So, that's why Clefable was very safe there. So, yeah, I figured Moltres would be more useful against Infernape, so I would rather have Zapdos slept. So, it's taking forever to wake up, but... yeah, burn 3 Sleep turns, probably going to wake up afterwards, so Focus Punch to Zilch, and we can Roost on the switch because Breloom risks a lot, well, to stay in and go for a sub or a Focus Punch on the Roost, because that's actually what lets you do damage. So, yeah, now it's all fine. We can just get up spikes as Infernape comes in, and the Infernape, sorry, skipped ahead a little too quickly. My mouse is very volatile. So just Flare Blitzed for absolute zilch, so we can just keep attacking with HP Ground, wearing down the Lax, which is not a threat. And Infernape makes a nice double switch back in. I go for a Protect because I assumed it didn't have Stealth Rock, because why wouldn't it have used Stealth Rock earlier as I switched to Moltres? And now I'm thinking, well, that's irritating. Why didn't he Stealth Rock on the... maybe he was afraid of... why didn't he Stealth Rock on Fortress before? So... he got me there, but I figured if it's Flare Blitz and not Choice Band, Physical Donphan can take it, and he goes to Rotom, so that's nice. So he decided to just Odor Sleuth just to get the spin off, and yeah, I think I put some more Spdef EVs on Donphan because I noticed it was really desiring them. So did I? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead as I switched in, got the spin off, dodged the overheat. That was nice, even though he tricked my own Sticky Barb back on me. But yeah, I decided to trick the specs back onto him and soft boil up, get my leftovers. So Trick Clef is really a lot of fun. I think I generally prefer knockoff still, but Trick has a lot of fun applications. It'd be nice to fit it on a team with other knockoff users, so you're not left in situations where you really wish you had knockoff, which we've been in a couple. So, an amazing double switch by me, going to Fori on Snorlax so we can spike all day. And here is one weakness of the team, Gyarados. It's luckily physical defense Jirachi generally does a good job, but it's still, pretty scary to see, especially with Zapdos so low, and the fact it's especially defensive, not physically defensive. So, anyway, he's just staying in, and yeah, this game was kind of not so great. So, but whatever. We got a good chunk of points from it actually. So yeah, moving on. This game was actually even less fun. It's just T-Spikes, Flamethrower, Leech. So I don't know what the whole thing about Leech Seed is, but Calm Mind, Leech, and this Subsplit Gengar being annoying. We get a Brox, and I go to Fori. It was like, alright, I can either Spike or Payback, or I can just Scout just to make sure he doesn't have HP Fire. And lo and behold, he does have HP Fire. I realize I'm kind of rushing through this game, but it's not one of the more entertaining ones. So, it's just, because it really is just going through the motions. So, yeah, there's just Spadef drop, and then he has one more turn of Life Orb, so I think he's thinking, oh, I'm going to miss, or I'm going to switch, so, or he's going to switch, so I'm going to predict him, so I decide, you know what, I can take the -1 Shadow Ball. So he goes for Focus Blast, and drops me again. Anyway, so since the Celebi using Calm Mind and doing something dumb with it is the only way I really see myself losing this game, then I figured, see, there's the spin. Yeah, Fortress has been putting in work. It needs support for sure, but I think Fortress has a place again. Definitely needs Protect though, for support and Protect. Anyway, I decided to stay in even at -2 Spadef against the Celebi because the only way it could really do something nasty to me is if it got a bunch of Calm Minds, and I didn't think even at -2 Psychic or like whatever HP Ice, which is unlikely alongside Leech Seed. Although on a team like this, who knows? I thought it was unlikely to. I thought it was worth just roaring it out. Anyway, so I don't stay it on the Scizor. Don't give it free Swords Dances because you can just check with Moltres, because Moltres is an amazing Scizor check. So here's the whole thing about Gyarados again. So I just stay in and burn it. So now it's no longer a threat, and Zapdos is getting whirlwinded, or not whirlwinded, T-waved. Just keep roaring over and over, and I think I double switch here. Oh, I was looking to catch Celebi, but I guess he just bounced, so I'll just roost up and through Paraflinch. That still does a surprising chunk. So luckily we get it here, and now again. So wonderful. So Gyarados goes down, Celebi comes in. I wish I could wear it down with more spikes, but if you keep setting up Stealth Rock with Mammo, then Mammo is also a threat on paper, but not with the set he's running. It has to be a Stone Edge superpower. That is actually a massive threat to a lot of teams. So yeah, I don't really get the opportunity to do that if he's double switching to Celebi, and I figured Clefable was good because Zapdos is getting worn down and I can trick. So no matter what set he's running, which turns out to be HP Fighting, then Sticky Barb will wear it down, and just stay in with Clef, and that's the game. Alright, so those two games were kind of not so fun, but this one was really interesting. So he leads off with a Fortress against my Moltres, and I'm thinking, alright, this guy's going to be ready for a Will-O-Wisp with his own Clefable or Heatran, so I'm going to be aggressive, and I'm going to go to Clefable, so that I can, get some momentum, get some rocks up. Hopefully he goes to Fortress and I trick him to Barbs. That would be wonderful for momentum with my own Fortress. So instead he goes to Latias, so I think he was fearing something like an offensive Moltres, which also does exist in the lead slot, like Choice Specs or Life Orb, because its Air Slash destroys Machamp, can even flinch Focus Sash sets. And, with HP Ground it also destroys Heatran. And, it's so strong that it blows through Akka, Metagross, and obviously Lum Metagross stands no chance. So, yeah, it's, offensive Moltres is definitely a thing, because you wouldn't switch Latias into Will-O-Wisp if you knew that Moltres had Will-O-Wisp, but if you were expecting offensive Moltres, then yeah, you would switch Latias in. So, Clefable is a good matchup against no matter what set, one-on-one, I think I can just go for the rocks, even if it is modest Specs Draco Meteor, which I don't feel like we're going to have if it's a Fortress lead, because only I myself am known to run modest specs. So basically you can't run away afraid all the time, so I'm going to run the risk of modest specs Draco to a KOing me and get up rocks, especially because that's not the most unreasonable thing to come back against. I can just come back in on 40. So now his own Clefable comes in. So here we see an interesting move, because he goes for a knockoff, removes my Sticky Barb, and I trick and take away... So I don't give him the Sticky Barb, but I give him, you know, my own non-item. So he took away my item, and then I gave him that and took his leftovers. So I'm thinking, sweet, that is really cool, because... I'll take this opportunity no matter what, because Sticky Barb doesn't do anything. It's effectively the same as having no item, but as a matter of fact, it's better, in theory, if I had a trick user, because I didn't have to risk tricking my own Sticky Barb back onto myself if Clefable came in to absorb it. So, that was really nice. I don't know if he has speed EVs or not, but I'm thankful I lost that speed tie. So, because now I get to keep leftovers, and I think, okay, if it's just a knock Seismic Toss, Clefable, for a while I can stall it with Zapdos, especially because it doesn't have leftovers. It's got a lot of SPDF, but, you know, I can pressure it, and he's not critting me with Seismic Toss or anything. I can just roost stall it all day. In the previous live, then there was a game where Seismic Toss Clef outside of Sand does not pressure knock Zapdos, so in comes Swampert. Now, Fortress does not spin on offensive Swampert all day, but I figured at least temporarily it'll do something. So I just go right for the spin, and he goes to his own Fortress, not revealing a ghost just yet, so I'm thinking, okay, that might be a good sign. So he goes for his own spin as Moltres comes in, and I want to see what his answer is, because I can also wear down Clefable with, I don't know why I went for the Will-O-Wisp there, because if Latias comes in, I get to see what set it is it Specs, if it's a Calm Mind, and if it's Calm Mind, I can go for a Burn after, and it's more important to wear down Clef, because Clef is a pain throughout the game, and, you know, Flamethrower is going to be doing actually identical damage to Zapdos Thunderbolt, because they have the same special attack stat and the same base power. Technically, Moltres is one special attack stat lower than Zapdos because of HP Ground's IVs, dropping it from 286 to 285. But yeah, I definitely should have gone for Flamethrower there. But I figured, yeah, no problem. I can just go back to Zapdos, and, you know, if he wants to repeat this Swampert cycle, I'm okay with that. So I go to Fortress now, looking to get the leg on the Swampert, getting a spike up, and now I can go back to Moltres on the spin, and I go for the Flamethrower, and now he reveals Heatran. So this is a very old school style of team, except with Clefable. So it's like a marriage of the old era of a decade plus ago of semi-stall, and then, you know, Clefable to fit the modern landscape. So I go for HP Grounding against Heatran because that's what it's there for, and he reveals himself to be Torment-Tran, so lots of hazard abuse here. Classic set. So I go to Clefable just in case of Protect or, you know, Lava Plume or something, because I can wall it. No sense getting stalled by it, and when I could just go to Clefable and get up rocks, so I get up rocks as he protects, so that's nice because now I have a leg up on him to do as I please. So I go for, I think I went for a Seismic Toss, but I really should have just gone back to Moltres, because Moltres threatens everything on his team, and even if he stays in Lava Plumes, what's he going to do? Because Torment-Tran's last move is Substitute, so I really should have been more aggressive with Moltres once again. So, lesson to be taken from this. So now I go back to Fori, you know, instead of threatening to burn the Swampert and threatening pressure on all his Pokemon, then I go to Fori and have to play reactive, and now he reveals a Rotom, and even worse, it's not even a Scarf Rotom, which means his team is fairly slow if it's not a Scarf Latias, but that's manageable. And he makes a nice move and doubles to Heatran as I go for Protect, so I'm forced back into Clefable. So Rest Hawk Rotom means it's not impossible to spin because I have Odor Sleuth Donphan, but it's still going to be irritating. Luckily, I can still manage because there's no sand pressuring me. And of course, in the meantime, I have Clefable. So I Soft Boil on Protect, nice. And I just go for an S-Toss, and he goes to Latias instead of Rotom, so that's nice. Because Rotom I can't actually touch without knockoff. So he decides to roar out, do some damage, so that works, because I can just Roost, I have SPDF Zapdos, and Get back up to full, so he reveals himself to be Calm Mind Roar Latios almost certainly, so I'm okay with that, and I can just chip away at it with... Oh, I wonder why I didn't just go for HP Ice. I think maybe I just didn't want him Calm Mind boosting and roaring me around, so, I mean, okay. Anyway, so I go for a Body Slam on the 4E just because this means that if later on he's looking to get a spin-off, then there's a chance that he will not be able to, and I will be able to maintain hazard or more, and I will be able to take advantage of that. So long term, that will be helpful. So now he's definitely going for spin, so I'm going to Moltres just to roost it up, because even without hazards, Moltres is a pain. Plus, later in the game, with Rocks Up, because before I haven't been annoying him with Moltres with Rocks Up. Once I managed to get the Rocks Up, because 4E is not a good switch into Clefable long term, whoops, that was zoomed in, then I will be able to make this Moltres even more annoying. But for now, you know, I want to waste some of Clefable's PP. You know, I'll lose the lefties, it's not that bad because there's no sand. See how crucial sand is, so now we're in this little stall war. I mean, Clefable can't stall out one pressure bird, let alone two, so now he's got to do this somewhat risky dance around Moltres where he predicts, you know, Heatran on Flamethrower or Will-O-Wisp, Clefable or Latios on HP Ground, so I go for another Flamethrower here, I think, and yeah, I do, and I get the burn on Rotom, which is helpful as hell, so you know, that burn kind of sucks for him. I think if he was not going to go for that, because it's very clearly a Rest Talk Rotom, which means Donphan can Odor Sleuth and spin on it fairly easily and rest off a burn, so he was going to have to rest there. So, but this gives me a little bit of an edge because he has to switch out now, so I'm just going to keep Flamethrowering, and I want to eventually nail his pivots, because if I can nail the Heatran with an HP Ground, that's really nice. So, and he's also reveals to be Protect as I try to go for an HP Ground on Heatran. So he's running my favorite Clef set, and, well, I don't know if I prefer Wish over Soft Will, but it's definitely nice to have Soft Willed here, because you don't have to 2-turn recovery against something that's pressuring you. So, yeah, just chip it down, keep forcing more, and look at how irritating Moltres is without sand. Good lord. So, it's a matter of not burning through Flamethrowers too quickly, because I do only have 14 left in a long game. That's not so much. So I figured I'm just going to make him waste Seismic Toss PP because I have Pressure and I have Roost. And you know, I don't really mind HP Ground PP because I have 19 of those left and don't need to spam them like I do Flamethrower. He makes a nice move there, protects. And now in comes Latios on HP Ground. So I know it's not instantly threatening me, so I can go for a Will-O-Wisp, but he goes back to Clefable. Very smart move. So, it's at feeling out. I mean, he's not going to be able to do this all day with Clef, and I think I'm at a slightly better timer than he is. So I think I go for I go for an HP Ground there. And Heatran comes in on the Will-O-Wisp. Very nice move. Since Latias poses somewhat of a threat, then, you know, I don't want to mess around against it as much. I mean, I know taking a Will-O-Wisp for no reason would suck, but it's not like it's 100% avoidable between his Clef and Heatran both being under pressure, so I figured there might be a time where he just takes the plunge and starts roaring around to get a Rocks damage on both the birds, because that could be really irritating. So instead he goes to Heatran, makes the smart move, and protects on HP Ground, which I'm still a little cavalier about, running out of a little, but yeah, see, because even without the lefties, even HP Ground does a lot, and I go for a burn on Clef there, so now its knockoff does even less, and I think I go for another burn here, and I nail the Latias, so that one felt really good, because now Latias is in trouble. So, you know, the predictions with the Moltres, the Flamethrower on Rotom, and the burn on Latias, those are going a long way, so I think I go to 4 here, because I figured, which was actually, in retrospect, a really stupid move, because what move was he going to go for? He wasn't going to go for Calm Mind if he stayed in on Moltres, which he's now a lot likelier to do if he stays in. He's a lot likelier to stay in because he's burned, so he no longer has to dance around it. He can just accept it, and it's not that bad because there's no sand, again. So that was really stupid of me to go for that, because he could have just, if you stayed in, what was he going to do? He was going to roar, so I should have just Flamethrowered it. I mean, I guess, you know, Drill Peck was, or not Drill Peck, but Dragon Pulse was not the most unrealistic thing, but I don't know, Roar just felt a lot more obvious. So I get a lot of... it's not the damage on Fori that's irritating, it's the potential damage on Moltres, because Zapdos can roost it off, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. He does not stay in, and luckily I don't HP Ice, because that would have been bad. But Heatran is an opportunity for Clef to come in and get those rocks up, and that's just what I do. So, whoops, yeah, Protect on the rocks. And now he doesn't even Torment, because he doesn't have to yet, he just wants to get some damage. But preserving Clefable's leftovers was definitely a good call, because, you know, situations like this, if Heatran could just keep Lava Pluming me, and I wasn't passively healing with leftovers, the same way that Moltres is passively, or the same way that Moltres is able to make his Clefable actively heal with Soft Boiled, you know, I would not want to have that same situation against this Heatran, so preserving the lefties was really nice. Maybe I should run 30 Speed IVs on that Clef, just for that scenario. Just kidding, I don't think I'm using this team much more, its flaws are becoming too apparent, but it has been very fun. So yeah, I roost on the Heatran as he protects against HP Ground, and, you know, staying healthy because rocks are up. So once again, we're in the situation where Moltres is really irritating without those. But I figured, I don't remember why I went to Fortress here, but since I have Donphan, then I figured I could force in Rotom, maybe? Because now I protect out of Seismitoss, right? It's because I remember I was at 99... excuse me, 99 HP exactly, so I would have died to his toss. And now I protect out of range, and now I feel like he's got to be going to Rotom. And I go for payback, and down it goes. So that felt really nice, and I mean, obviously it's not the best thing ever, and something like a Roar Heatran would be really irritating to face right about now. But yeah, so I know that Donphan could spin after, so yeah, Clefable into Heatran once again. Latias is helpless against this Clef now that it's been burned, so I figured I'm trying to get it in and recover. As long as he doesn't roar, that really sucks. So that was really badly timed by me. Very, very silly. But he's definitely recovering here, so now I take the opportunity to go to Donphan and get that spin off, as, you know, a little bit of spin F kind of helped. Even a crit wouldn't have KO'd, and I get the spin off. So it's not like the spin is... like that removed hazards permanently, but, you know, now Moltres is pressuring a lot with rocks up and no hazards to deal with. Latias burned, so I was looking forward to playing out the rest of the game, but my opponent forfeited, so that was a really interesting game. I really liked that one. Alright, next up, Chansey fans. So I don't remember. Oh yeah, I decided that I wanted a fast game, so I took a change of pace. And I grabbed Badouche's old rain team that he used against me in the finals of Smogon Tour Season 16. Nothing has stopped my heart like playing the deciding game of a Smogon Tour final and seeing Azelf use Rain Dance on the second turn, because, yeah, that is really scary stuff, because I used to have nightmares of facing rain teams. Did my playlist run out? No, yes, continue playing, of course. This background music playlist is public, by the way, if you want to use it. So yeah, I figured if, you know, we're having fun and I want to play a faster pace, then I could just grab this team. So yeah, let's reset. Let's go back to turn 1. Get Smeargle, you obviously taunt. Smeargle might U-turn, but it also might Spore, saying, oh, well, it might be Choice Band Azelf. And if my opponent knows my ult, then they are familiar with what I like to use, then they'll know I use a lot of Choice Band Azelf on the ladder. So taunting is, you know, safe. And Stealth Rock, and hopefully a Scarf T-Tars doesn't come in so I can get up the Rain. And now I think he goes for Bullet Punch just to, I don't know why, but, you know, I'm not complaining, because most even banned Scissors are going to U-turn. Because if you're afraid of Fire Blast, then, well, I guess against a non-bulky Fire Blast Azelf, then Bullet Punch probably would have KO'd. But this is a bulky Azelf, max HP, and it Rain Dances, and the King Draw on this team is Life Orb, not Specs, so I want to preserve its health. So I definitely do not want to switch it into Bullet Punch, so I decided to go to Ludicolo, who's a little more expendable. So take the Bullet Punch and launch a Hydro Pump, so we can preserve Kingdra in the back, and Suicune comes in, and that's offensive Suicune, and it takes a lot of damage. So I decide to go for the safe Giga Drain. Now Giga Drain usually sucks in DPP. This should be Grass Knot or Energy Ball, but this Douche made this team when Gen 5 was the current gen, so I can see why why the mix-up. Or maybe just wanted to offset Life Orb recoil, who knows. But, in Gen 4 there are better alternatives than in Gen 5, where, you don't really have much alternative other than the relatively not good Giga Drain. So, yeah, Giga Drain didn't become good until Gen 5. Same with, like, Drain Punch. I remember Gen 5 being the main gen, and I was like, why doesn't everyone use Drain Punch in Gen 4? And then I remembered, oh, right, because it sucks. So, yeah, T-Tar comes in, wasn't sure why that was the move as opposed to something like Scizor if you're expecting a grass move, because T-Tar still takes a ton, but, I'm not opposed. So depending on this T-Tar has to be either Scarf or just max speed, so like DD, in order to actually threaten the Ludicolo, but he switches out, so I don't think that's what he is. And I believe I switched to Azelf just as a sack, just to see, because this team also has Dugtrio. So Badoosh was using Dugtrio very early on. So yeah, Azelf comes in, and I decide to go to Zapdos, which does not have Roost, but it's Agility 3 attack, so Thunder, Heat Wave, HP Ice. So, because this will, still takes a ton from CB Scizor or Bullet Punch. It's also got a ton of HP EVs, so that was fairly surprising. But yeah, Scizor's going to switch out, so I double switch back to Azelf. Hopefully I will catch something slower, which is not unreasonable, because Azelf is actually very fast, but he goes to a Scarf Rotom. With T-Tar weakened, that is probably his best option against Zapdos. That's not surprising. And at this point, I can't really switch into the Scarf Rotom safely, because it's a very offensive team, so I figured I'll just leave Azelf in to see what move it locks itself into, because notice here how Rotom gets hit by the sand first. That is something you should be paying attention to, because that tells you who is faster. So yeah, see what move he locks himself into. He locks himself into T-Bolt, and I know he's Scarf because the sand hit him first, so now I'm going to go to Dugtrio, my best Thunderbolt switch in, and I don't have Pursuit on this, because Badoosh's team I think has Sucker, Stone Edge, and it's Life Orb too. So I decided to just go for an Earthquake and take out whatever comes in, because Scizor is not going to enjoy coming in, and Suicune is going to die, Smeargle's going to die, and maybe he'll reveal the last, so Rotom comes in, tricks, and I decide, I don't really have great switching, so I'm kind of forced to just keep Sucker Punching, and it barely come up short, and then Rotom gets KO'd by the Life Orb, a trick from me. It wasn't going to die to sand anyway, but it's still kind of funny. Crit didn't matter, but yeah, so now I figured, alright, Zapdos is good against Suicune, Scizor, and against Smeargle, I can try to wake up and go for an Agility, and if Rotom was... T-Tar's down, Rotom is his answer. It's likely the last is something like a Dragonite or a Flygon that cannot handle an Agility Zapdos. A lot of people play around Zapdos by outspeeding it, and with Agility, you take that away. It takes up a valuable move slot, but the payoff can be huge. So, yeah, he's stacking a bunch of spikes because he figures, alright, I'll just outspeed it. And, Scizor and Suicune aren't really great answers. So now I just go for that, go for Heat Wave, and he gets the idea. Uh-oh, I think this thing might have Thunder, so I might have to dodge a T-Bolt. So I might have to dodge it, and, I go for Thunder, thankfully hit. And, so then the last reveals itself to be Lucario, so Heat Wave drops it, so Zapdos was looking pretty nice either way, but yeah. Yeah, so that's the game. So that's another Gen 4 win. Nice, nice. So Gen 1, we're going to speed this one up a little because it's, Gen 1 can take a little while. So yeah, Lovely Kiss misses and then Lovely Kiss hits after eating a Psychic crit. So drop the Starmie, force it to switch out, go for Ice Beam, look for the freeze on Chansey. We use Ice Beam over Blizzard because we really want that freeze. And we get it early on. So now Snorlax is a pain because we don't have counter Chansey on this team, which we really should now that I think about it. So, and Snorlax doesn't have counter either, so I figured if this is Reflect Snorlax, my Amnesia Lax will be threatening, but until that's revealed, then I can just Body Slam, and I get an Amnesia as he rests, which is perfect. Now we're going on the offensive and Blizzarding as Exeggutor comes in to threaten Sleep and shutting the Snorlax down, so that's perfect. A lot better than Body Slam, because now Exeggutor's in Tauros range. It's in pretty much everything range. Go to Jinx, because even if the Exeggutor goes for Double Edge, then, fair enough. It'll at least take Recoil, and it won't be able to switch into Snorlax again, so I'll be able to put more pressure on, so it'll be worth losing another Pokemon to Sleep later. But he goes for Sleep Powder, and then I figured, alright, let's see if I can get away with this, and Starmie comes in on Double Edge, so that's wonderful. Now this is a Blizz Bolt Starmie, meaning no stab, meaning that Rest Snorlax will stall it out, but with 0 sleep turns, and I've got an Articuno in the back, and a Sleeping Starmie, and a Frozen Chansey, so this is looking amazing, unless there's something like a Lapras in the back, which would suck, but yeah, so we go to Articuno because its Blizzard pressures the hell out of Snorlax, does a chunk. We're going to abuse the Sleeping Starmie with Tauros because that's what that's the most aggressive poke to do it with, and unlike Snorlax, then it will not be outsped by Exeggutor and threatened with Sleep. So the Double Edge recoil against Starmie actually helps even more because it puts it in range of Tauros more easily. So Body Slam, so like Starmie can't pivot in on a Blizzard or something. So Zapdos comes in, bird on bird, go for an Ice Beam, and now since Snorlax is going to wake up, then since it's a Reflect Rest Snorlax, Self-Destruct is possible, but I wouldn't mind the Snorlax just being out of the way, and I think we can dance around the Zapdos with Boom Lax and Starmie Blizzarding, and Articuno can take a hit, and Tauros. And with the last being Tauros and Starmie being asleep and Exeggutor being nearly dead, then I think this is definitely worthwhile to potentially trade with it. And especially because if it's not Self-Destruct, Reflect, Rest, Lax, then Chansey can threaten to freeze it again one-on-one since his own Chansey is gone, so Freeze Claws is no longer active. So Body Slam, and we don't even need that. We just end up KOing him. So here comes Exeggutor, decide to sack Jinx, even more Double Edge recoil, so I don't know why I chose to go to this over Tauros. I don't know. Well, Starmie wakes up and my own Starmie T-bolts it. I think it was so I could T-wave the Zapdos, because I'm I'm more okay with throwing Starmie away than Tauros away, I think. I don't know. I think either was probably fine, but with T-wave you cripple Zapdos no matter what. And then you Blizzard it if he goes for anything else, like trying to T-wave Chansey on the switch, because he was in a tough position there, because he's like, oh well, the Chansey's at full health, or the Chansey's healthy, so I can Drill Peck or T-wave. So that gave my own Starmie more leeway to T-wave it. And once Zapdos gets T-waved, then Articuno destroys it. Snorlax is less threatened, Chansey's less threatened, obviously Tauros as well. So should be fine. I'm just looking to avoid a crit, and I heal up and Ice Beam it, and then he gets the 2 full paras, so that sucks, but I can still take whatever, and I decided to go to Snorlax because it's least expendable. It's the most expendable one, because even if it takes a T-wave, then Eggy can't sleep it, and if it takes an attack and gets slept by Eggy, that's fine. But then I have Tauros and Articuno effectively against Tauros, so Articuno one-on-one slams Tauros, and then my own Tauros for insurance, so I should have it done. And so Snorlax was the most expendable by far, so that was definitely the right move to go with. And, it doesn't even take an attack, but it doesn't really matter because Exeggutor just sleeps and KOs. But yeah, so now Tauros comes in, and that's still effectively fine because, well, unless severe miracles happen, but they don't. So I think his goal was to get Exeggutor in on another full pair and then explode and then win the Tauros war, but it was definitely not in his favor, so Articuno is going to win now almost surely. Articuno and Tauros anyway, but he gets the freeze for good measure. So even if I would have needed to miss or full para on that turn anyway. But yeah, so Articuno is awesome, and a little RBY win was nice. So now to Black and White. Now this was a really interesting game, because Jirachi Versace is running a Finchinator team from SPL, one I really like. It's a nice approach to weatherless offense, and I am running an edit of a Manat team, or Little Lucario, however you know him, which is also weatherless offense in a similar vein, and I really like both these teams, so interesting matchup. I'm going with a Breloom lead just because you want Breloom to have Toxic Orb activated early on, because that way you'll get to switch it into Rotom later without fearing Will-O-Wisp. So he leads off with Lando and goes right for a U-turn, And right away, whoops, sorry about that. Right away, I'm intrigued because let's look at that U-turn damage again. It's 26%, so I'm not sure if that's a little or a lot. So I go to the calc and I think, okay, max attack, so Scarf, would be doing like 31, I think, minimum. So that's not Scarf, but not only would that mean that it's a likely Stealth Rocker, but I also know this team, and I'm pretty sure that it's Scarf Rotom and Stealth Rock Lando. So I was thinking, why ditch the Lando? Maybe a possible explanation is because this player is new and doesn't know that Sleep moves have been banned, so Breloom can't Spore it anymore. I guess that would make sense, but other than that, there's no reason not to go for a... But, Latios wouldn't even have Sleep Talk anymore, so I don't know. But, yeah, because I don't have a spinner, so you get up rocks, they stay there the whole game. So, and, Breloom is as great a place to get him as any, but he went for the U-turn, shows himself to not be Scarf, so... But I still wasn't sure 100%. I thought something was fishy, but I thought, if it comes to it, then I'm not going to risk it not being Scarf and potentially get burned by it. Maybe he's running a bulky Scarf set, which I've run in the past, because it's his only answer to Terrakion, and he still wants to speed a Scarf and likes the non-Scarf utility of Rotom. Personally, I love the Scarf Rotom there, but yeah. So Latios comes in and eats Toxic because Toxic Breloom is awesome. So Toxic Protect, classic combo, works super well on Breloom, especially alongside Drain Punch. And Latios goes for a Trick. Now, I could, he's already poisoned. No point in giving him my Toxic Orb, and I don't want to Scarf on Breloom because Breloom is incredibly useful in this matchup. Since Jirachi, I know the Jirachi has U-turn, so I can't Magnezone trap it, but Magnezone is also a big threat in its own right because Specs HP Fire, because I love Specs Magnezone, puts a huge dent in Excadrill, so gonna get a lot of opportunities. Plus, with Trick here, I can go to my own Latios, absorb it nicely, and obviously, if he's Scarf, or at least my Latios is Scarf, so then he will get the Scarf and he'll have the option of Draco Meteoring, but I'll still have the option to pivot into my Magnezone and either get a matchup against Jirachi in which I can go for HP Fire, or to ward off Excadrill and still chunk the Jirachi and nothing else really left switching in, especially if it is Scarf Rotom, aka no recovery, since Breloom, Lando don't like eating it, and Latios is poisoned. So Specs HP Fire and Magnezone is actually a big threat. But more importantly, so I can pivot it into Latios if he decides to actually go through with the Trick, and if he goes to his own Jirachi like he does here, expecting my Latios, then I can threaten it with Trick of my own. And I think that's definitely the call, because Scarf Jirachi means that if he ever doesn't U-turn with Jirachi, I kill it with Magnezone. And he doesn't have anything that's such a huge threat that he can just irrevocably punish my Magnezone switch with it. So I really like that. So get the Trick off, he U-turns, wonderful. Here comes Excadrill. I know this is a specially defensive drill with Toxic. At the same time, I don't want to go to Breloom. I want to go to Lando, be aggressive. I can take the Toxic. Arguably, I should have gone to Breloom and just absorbed it and then pivoted to Lando because an untoxic Lando would have been really nasty. But that's not what I did. I probably should have, but I don't know. It was definitely a smarter move to go to Breloom, but I do get a Brox now. Now, this means it'll be more annoying to deal with the Excadrill later, but luckily, Lando is still a huge threat even when toxic. So I go to Pharaoh on his Lando just to... If he goes for Rocks or HP Ice, I can Leech, I can get up Spikes. Excadrill doesn't want to come in on Ferrothorn, it'll just get smacked, so definitely should have kept that Lando on Toxic. But yeah, here comes Pharaoh, Jirachi, and I believe I go to Magnezone. Yep, because now that the... Whoops. Sorry, let's go back to where we were. Yeah, now that the Jirachi is Scarfed, if it ever doesn't U-turn... Whoops, sorry. If it ever doesn't U-turn, then Magnezone KOs it. So Rocks, Pharaoh, Jirachi, Breloom, Magnezone. So I decide, alright, even if this has Drain Punch, it's not going to come close to KOing me. If it's slow and bulky and survives a Specs HP Fire, then I'm going to go first. So I'm still chunking it, which is huge because Breloom is annoying, to say the least, especially with my Toxic Lando. God, what was I thinking? That was not a smart move. Excadrill was never going to go for Rocks there. Maybe this refusal to go for Rocks with Lando tricked me or something. I don't know. That was just a dumb move on my part. But yeah, especially with it being sub to abuse the toxic Lando. Yikes. Anyway, so Magnezone goes for HP Fire. Yeah, so if it's slow and bulky, then not only do I outspeed it, but it also will probably not have sub, which means that my Pharaoh can beat it one-on-one because my Pharaoh has Worry Seed. So instead of Poison Heal, Breloom will have Insomnia, and it will be damaged by its own Toxic Orb. And if it's fast with sub, then it can't actually hurt Magnezone one-on-one because it has to have a sub to have a Focus Punch up. And I can just spam that HP Fire, which, like I said earlier, is actually a threat because Rotom does not have bulk. It does not have leftovers. Rocks are up, so look at that. Let's go to the last turn. Rotom comes from full health, rocks, and suddenly resisted HP Fire. It's down to 60. That's nuts. So definitely a Scarf Rotom. So Latios doesn't want to come in with rocks up, and it's toxic and not posing a huge threat because I got Slow King, and even one-on-one against Magnezone is not a done deal. Lando doesn't want to come in because Lando runs minus special defense natures in black and white because hidden power is 70 base power, so no reason to cut into that when it actually hits very hard. And Excadrill obviously doesn't want to come in. Jirachi obviously not, so it really was just Rotom, and even that wasn't great. So I go to Latios knowing that with my newfound leftovers and my bulk and my Roost, then I can switch into it safely. If he goes for HP Ice, that'll be annoying, and I debated going to Slow King over it. But I figured, because, Volt Switch isn't the end of the world. But, okay, that wasn't a glitch or anything. But yeah, I figured Latios is a safe switch. I get a Roost up, Jirachi comes in, you can U-turn, but that's fine because Magnezone is still a threat in and of itself. Although U-turning to a ground is going to be irritating, but still. He doesn't do that, he goes for Body Slam. So, arguably, I should have gone to something else if I was thinking that U-turn... Maybe Breloom was the better move, because if U-turn, then he can't threaten me as much, because I Toxic Lando, I'm good against Excadrill, I'm good against pretty much everything. So yeah, Breloom was the better move in case of U-turn, and obviously if he Body Slams, I don't care. But he goes for Body Slam, and I go to Magnezone. So, see, even in games where you're doing well, you can always be doing better. And I know that makes me sound like, oh, I'm so humble, look at me. But it's really the truth, because I see a lot of people who go, oh, I played this game perfectly. And it's like, no, you didn't. You really, really didn't. You played it well, but there's always something you can be doing better. So even in this, even though the Magnezone switch worked out, then it wasn't necessarily the best move I could have made, if you catch my point. If this isn't clear to you, then please feel free to ask, on Discord or comments or something. But I think it's, the point I'm making is that even though this play worked out, I could have made a better play that also would have worked out and would have worked in the event that Jirachi went for U-turn. So yeah, Magnezone takes out Jirachi, and that's wonderful because now Latios is a threat on its own as well. So now my Lando is Toxic and Spin, so now we have this stupid mind game where he can stay in and go for Spin or switch out as I go for Earthquake because I am faster, because I'm faster than max speed Drill. So no matter what his speed EVs are. And that's why I decided to actually make a good move for once. So let's go back. So here his moves are either switch out to an Earthquake immunity, so Rotom, Latios, Lando, or go for Spin on my rocks. So he keeps rocks off and racks some more poison damage on me. That's the riskier option, of course. But you don't know because he's... Well, sorry, it's still early in the morning, so I'm still stretching. Yeah, so it's risky, but, he doesn't... Just because it's risky doesn't mean he won't do it, as opposed to going for one of his Earthquake immunes. So I don't want to get caught up in that, so I decided to go for U-turn because, yeah, usually rocks are important, but here against this team with Exca and Breloom and Latios being poisoned and Rotom being 60% with no healing and, locked into a choice item, then I figured, alright, rocks are nice, but I don't want to get caught up in the rocks thing and fall behind potentially because of it. Trying to EQ Excadrill and hitting an EQ immune, or getting rock or setting up rocks and taking more poison damage, because this Lando could still be a threat as long as I don't keep it in too long and don't let it rack up a bunch of poison damage all at once. So I decided to go for U-turn because if Excadrill stays in, I get to go to Breloom and threaten his entire team, since Lando gets toxic. And if he switches out like he does, then I get momentum. So I think I go to Ferrothorn here, and I see leftover, so I know it officially is bulky. So I decide just go for some spikes. I can pressure him with hazards this way, and I didn't go for a Worry Seed here. I don't know why. I thought maybe he'll go. Maybe I need Gyro Ball on this team, honestly, but because Thunderous is also a pain, so, you know, you can always be tweaking your movesets as well, of course. So yeah, I was thinking maybe he'll stay in an EQ, but because Worry Seeding as Lando stays in does nothing. But yeah, now Breloom is a pain, so I gotta go to Lando, rocks up Poison, which is annoying, especially because he's running Sub Protect, but I know he's protecting first, so, because he needs recovery of his own, so I can get up rocks and harass his entire team. So now I'm gonna have to make a, you know, I could have gone to Latios now that I think about it, but I decided to go to Breloom, because I can see if he's going to go for Focus Punch or not. So the nice thing is that even if he subs again, then I can protect for more healing, and then between Drain Punch and Protect, and the fact that he only gets to hit me with one Focus Punch before he has to switch out, I'll be healing up pretty quickly. So he goes for Seed Bomb, he doesn't go for another sub. Because, you know, if he... Actually, that might have been the better move, honestly, on his end. It actually definitely was, because if I U-turn, then, you know, he subs again. And if I stay in an HP Ice, then he keeps Poison Stalling me. So Sub was definitely the move on his end, and thus Latios was probably a better move on my end. But Breloom is still fine. It worked out, but still, it could have been better. Can always be better. So I go. He intimidates me with his Lando, and I protect. You know, same as going for Toxic now. But Breloom, now that I have Rocks and Spikes, then long term, or in the longer term rather. The less than immediate term, let's say, then he is going to be able to, then he's not able to switch around as much. So my protecting, you know, he's not just switching circles around me. He's still getting hacked to pieces. So the spike and the rock with Lando as he went for protect, then those are paying dividends right now. So yeah, just Drain Punch again. Lando gets worn down, goes for HP Ice, does nothing because Spadef Breloom does not care. And I get the Toxic off, so that's huge. Also nice about Breloom is that Excadrill does not spin on it completely freely. Now that it's at -2 attack, then yeah, it's not going to mind a Drain Punch, especially with Protect to give it more recovery. But yeah, Latios comes in, I'm protecting no matter what because poison damage, but he's choiced and he's locked in a roost, so now he's switching. So the question is, what do I switch to? So I don't want my... Oh, I don't switch at all. I just keep pressuring with Drain Punch. So now my Breloom is really, really weak, because it's at -3 attack, and yeah, so I mean I can just keep Drain Punching forever, but I don't. I think I didn't want Excadrill coming in or something. So Breloom comes in, gets, you know, annoyed by more hazards, and I chip Lando even more with Iron Barbs, so that's wonderful. So Lando once again, and I think the move I make here, if I'm smart, then I go for Breloom, yeah, immediately, nice. So on Protect or Sub, so now I'm at full health, so I know I can take one -1 Focus Punch, and you know, should probably be careful with my Drain Punch PP. But yeah, Drain Punch works out nicely. Focus Punch, actually, let's see the exact damage it did. So Focus Punch did 77, brought me down, but then Poison Heal brings me back up, and I can just spam Drain Punch, and with Protect, then look at this Breloom. It's such a demon, man. I love... Breloom is so irritating. I don't know who thought to put Toxic on Breloom, because it doesn't seem like a very intuitive move, but I think it was Finch. But, you know, major props. It was Finch or Reza, I think. But yeah, I've been toying with it, and it's really, really great. So look at how healthy Breloom is already, and I could just keep spamming it, but I decided I don't want to risk HP Ice or U-turn just bringing me down, because I feel like I am going to want Breloom later, so I decided to just sack Magnezone, who's fairly useless, and Excadrill comes in, and I don't remember if I go to Lando or if I just stay in and... Yeah, I just stay in an HP Fire, thinking if he spins, then I'm going to smack him real hard. And if he stays in, then then he doesn't get the spin off. So I go to Lando, he's getting worn down. God, imagine this game if I didn't let Lando take a Toxic so stupidly. And just go for EQ because he's getting hacked apart by hazards. He can't switch around as much. He might think it's time for prediction. But yeah, go to Latios because even if he goes for HP Ice, then I can pivot to Pharaoh or Slowking. Slowking is actually very irritating. I gotta think of a moveset change for Slowking too. I wanna, like, Psyshock on it, I think. Might be helpful in a lot of matchups. But yeah, so Latios is a threat in and of itself, just Roost to stay healthy. Lando comes in and, you know, will die. So now his own Latios. Go to Pharaoh because even if he tricks, you know, who cares? That actually is nice because then my... Oh, wait, my Latios isn't Scarf. I mean, it's still fine. It's still threatening. So now I go for the Worry Seed very safely. And bam. So now I just think I go for Power Whip just so he can't focus punch me freely. So yeah, that's what I do. And yeah, I went for a Leech Seed there. That was kind of dumb. I think, yeah. Alright, so game one, that was a really enjoyable game. And I actually have to take another bathroom break. So I will be right back. Alright, so here's a really infuriating game. So, Hail with Jellicent. So, yeah, the Kyurem is actually the main problem because in Hail, then my Slowking is not going to be able to ward it off too well. And he goes right to Fortress and lets me Magnezone it, so that helps. He gets up the spikes. But yeah, here's the Kyurem, here's the problem. I know he's going to sub, so I stay in with T-Bolt, you know, burn sub PP for very little. And the thing is with my Slowking is that I can't really break the subs. I can stall them all day almost, but you know, I decide I make a little bit of a misplay here because I go for spikes, and that wasn't the misplay. The misplay arguably was going for the second layer, thinking, oh well, Ferrothorn is useless against the Bomb Snow and Jellicent, you know, Heatran and Gliscor, because it's so slow and it's taking a hit and hazards are up, but I really should have preserved its health. The second layer of spikes was not as crucial. My idea was once I get up the hazards, you know, eventually Rocks with Lando too. Lando is actually pretty threatening to his team, because it always is. Then Kyurem will be a lot easier to deal with, and I'll be able to rip through his team with a combination of Lando and Latios, because his team is slow and vulnerable to both. So I just need as many hazards as I can, but I really should have kept Ferrothorn healthy just for, you know, emergencies. So he gets an early Spadef drop on Slowking, and I figured, alright, well, he's not going to chase me out just yet. Dragon Tail is not breaking a sub, so this is the set I've been running. I think it's pretty cool. Slack, Protect, Detail. But I think I'm going to change like something to Psyshock for like Tentacruel and Rotom and Keldeo, and Breloom actually is another big one. Maybe even Psychic, or yeah, not Psyshock. Yeah, Psychic maybe for bulk ups, but F Breloom. Yeah, so I pivot to Magnezone. He was trying to preserve his PP with Sub. But yeah, here comes a Bomb Snow, here comes the pain. So I sack Ferrothorn. Probably not my brightest moment, but he looks to be running a fast E-Belt Abomasnow, which is a relic from the past. This whole team is a relic from the past. So I just go for a Flash Cannon, and I don't play as aggressively as I need to. I should have gone to Lando there. But yeah, I go to Slowking, and this was also arguably a mistake. I don't know what my other options were. Well, not letting in Heatran to begin with, of course. But yeah, because now Slowking is burned, and now I really have to play aggressively and just not let the Kyurem in at all, because otherwise Slowking can't stall it out anymore. So you know, I manage to get Magnezone in on a taunt, which is nice, but I don't do anything with it. I don't T-Bolt. So Heatran comes in, takes Magnezone out. So now Lando comes in, I HP Ice, I get up rocks on Jellicent, I get burned, which is not so bad. I go to Latios, and I manage to get a trick on the, well, not even a Scald, a Surf, which tells you how old this team probably is before everyone was using Scald. And I managed to trick him on a Recover, so that's wonderful. Now Latios looks like he's going to be winning the game, and I just go for a Surf just because no reason to risk a Draco drop. And he barely survives, but he's going to protect and die to Hail. So I don't know why I switched out here. But, I don't know, I just didn't want to take a Will-O-Wisp or something. I should have just gone to Lando, maybe preserved just momentum with U-turn, because that way he can't double switch on me. I don't know, maybe. But, yeah, I definitely should have been more safe. But I figured I'm safe here because he's definitely going to switch to Kyurem, and I can Dragon Tail it. I could have double switched, and I guess I should have. But I can Dragon Tail, and then the Kyurem is basically screwed. And I go for Dragon Tail. He switches to Kyurem, amazing, and I goddamn miss. And that is the game right there, because Lando burned, can't take subs or can't break subs. Slowking can't stall it out. He just has too much PP, and I'm taking too much damage. So Breloom can't take it. Yeah, that really irritated me. That detail miss. It was so dumb. And now that I'm a little separated from it, a day later, then I can not scream. But, oh man, I was seething at the time. Yeah, a couple more games on the roster. So here's a GSC game, which also really irritated me. So go to my Raikou on Zapdos lead from Cloyster, because I'm running a edit of Donut's Heracross Moltres team. So I get a Thunder Para, looking to finish off the Zapdos. He stays in, looking for process action. That's why Thunder to open with is better than Raikou. He makes a nice move going to Fori here on the hidden power. Risky, but fine. I dodges Thunder, and I'm like, okay, now either he stays into Explode or he switches. No, nothing else is worth it. And he stays in just to get a Toxic on. So I figured he's either switching to Snorlax or he's exploding. Nothing else is worthwhile, but he just stays in and Toxics my Rhydon. And now I understand why he was doing that, because he's just a new player. He doesn't know, because he just tried to go for a second layer of spikes. So I just decide, alright, I'm just going to spam, I'm going to spike up, I'm going to spam Surf. He's going to spin, and he's going to spin again, just trying to keep hazards off, and I'm going to Surf one more time, and goodbye Fortress. So, fair enough. I'm going to get my spikes up later. He goes for Thief with Gengar. And now doubles to Snorlax, or no, switches to Snorlax. I Thunder, try to get my spikes up with Cloyster, and he makes a great move and goes back to Gengar, but not pressured yet. And this is a Rest Talk Raikou, so I don't lose momentum when I heal. So T-Tar dodges Thunder, which sucks. Go to Rhydon, just trying to avoid, I don't want to switch. Normally, Cloyster isn't the worst switching to T-Tar, but with spikes and poison, I don't want to do that. And he goes to Snorlax, so I decide Rock, just in case he tries to pivot, because I'm not sure what his last is, if it's Machamp or something. Nothing else is really a good switch to Earthquake, so I could definitely see him drawing a Rock Slide with Zapdos and pivoting, but it just goes right to Marowak, so I understand that. So I go to Cloyster, because I can take one, and I'll just get the spikes up. I'm not exploding with Gengar around anyway, so totally fair. Raikou comes in. I decide I don't want to be passive, I need to be aggressive, and I just need to keep attacking with Thunder, so I bring Snorlax down. So I start Earthquaking, and not 3KOing. Rhydon's getting weaker, but now that he's resting, I get a free shot with Heracross to start firing off Mega Horns, which do a lot of damage. So Gengar comes in, not necessarily threatening, and here's where I started playing like an idiot. I mean, he Ice Punches and gets a freeze, which is already nonsense, because sure, why wouldn't he? But yeah, now I go to Moltres, and he's not scared of it. I Fire Blast, and I'm playing like a complete idiot, just throwing away all my stuff, because I was very tilted at this point, and he blows up the Heracross, which I should have just let him do in the first place, really. But it's all fine, because I know that my Curse, all this time, my Curse Earthquake Snorlax is a huge threat. Now, it does have Self-Destruct in the last slot, not Rest, and that's the whole point, to blow up Skarm for Snorlax, or for Heracross. But now with everything else dead, he sacks his Zapdos, so even less of a problem. If I can get the Curse up with Snorlax, then that's probably the game. So So I get the curse up. T-Tar runs away because T-Tar is not very good against Snorlax one-on-one. So he Swords Dances up. If I Beast Slam Para, it's pretty much ball game. But that's not what happens. And it does a ton. I'm like, uh-oh, this might not be good. But since the Snorlax was chased out with 0 sleep turns, then I'm going to 3 KO it, and I don't think he's going to be able to do enough to me back because I'm gaining lefties as I'm doing this. So, maybe I should have cursed again. I don't know. I didn't want to get into an extended curse war. I wanted to do as much damage, and he Body Slam full paras me, and that was the game. And then he does it again. And now I'm left in range of T-Tar Rock Slide, and God, I was steaming. Oh, this game was dumb. This game was very, very dumb. I'm not screaming as much as I normally would because it's not live, so again, I'm detached, but good lord, that pissed me off. Here we have another black and white game, which was just, not even worth watching because it's Swoobat and stuff, but, I won, if you're wondering, so... yeah, Zoroark was, I learned Zoroark learns U-turn. I did not know that before, so... this one... Oh yeah, this was another dumb one, Cloyster Haxorus stuff, so... this was just... I actually think I played pretty dumb at this point. I let Lando go when I didn't have to. Could have just switched to Breloom, but it's no big deal. Sacked it to an Umbreon Foul Play for rocks. Not worthwhile. Oh, here's one. So, this guy's team is insanely threatening because he's got the triple ground-type attack and a Breloom and a Magnezone and 2 dragons, so... Yikes. So, I go to Lando... U-turn chip Mamo because he's not sharding on the first turn. Breloom's and he switches Breloom into a Scald, nothing doing, so that already irritated the hell out of me. Because it's not that Scald didn't burn, it's that he just switched it in, just like, yeah, whatever. So now he does a ton to Lando, and I'm forced to pivot around. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to spike up and hopefully get something done this way. So I get 3 layers because he's running Subcharge Zone. So, I hope that means that he's not HP Fire, so my own Magnezone can remove him, because that would be swell. So I go to Lando to provoke an HP Ice, because if I go right to Magnezone, and we're, similar... if I go right to Magnezone, then he's going to T-Bolt twice, and if he's faster than me, I can't live 2 of those, but I can live HP Ice into T-Bolt, I'm pretty sure. So Lando breaks the sub with U-turn, because Ferrothorn had already broken it, so U-turn to Magnezone. Or maybe you should... Nah, I don't think maybe subbing once wasn't the worst, but yeah, so I go to that, and I just draw HP Ice, and that's nice. I still might die to a T-Bolt, honestly, but it's better than just accepting the T-Bolt death. So that, here I make a dumb move and go to and sack my Lando, because I'm getting tilted, and he just DDs again like he should have. So I lose 2 pokes, essentially because Lando dies to rocks, when I should have just gone to Slowking and Dragon Tailed. It's bold, max defense, that's exactly what it's for, so I should have just done that, and I just was an idiot. However, here's the awesome power of Protect Slowking. So, Lando, sacked, not ideal, but, whatever. And look at that recovery I've already gotten. So I'm doing Calcs, and I can live Life Orb Mamoswine, and... So I slack off here, and I'm going to be in good shape, and he just goes for a goddamn Icicle Crash flinch, and gets it, so fine. Still doable because of my Scarf Latios, and if Mamoswine goes down, that's fine. So now I get Breloom in on a... Breloom just here to be a sack, really. And I get him in on EQ, and I decide to play it a little risky, and back to Slowking, and now Mamoswine is in Spike's range. So here comes Garchomp. I Protect just to be safe. I Scald just in case he was like Swords Dance or something dumb. But now I'm going to have to Protect, Regen, and slack off out of there. So against Scarf Garchomp, I will be fine. So I'm going to Slowking because I don't want him to spin with Excadrill on my Latios for free. Breloom being out of range is also wonderful. And he's probably going to spin, but I can still make it do it with Latios because... Dragonite's multi-scale is gone, so it's still feasible. So here comes Excadrill, getting the spin off. And he goes for a Toxic, so that kind of bites. But so here comes Breloom. He low sweeps trying to catch Latios, and I did consider going to it, but I figured I'd want to preserve it. I don't know. At this point, I was kind of just thinking, I gotta hope he messes up, and he did. So he Scalds, and now Dragonite comes in, he DDs again. So now the Draco Meteor win is looking even more in range, within reach, because it's not going to be, because Dragonite will die to a -2 Draco now. So Dragon Tail him into Slowking. He EQs, comes up short. It's Slowking, and it looks like after all the nonsense that I just fought through, the Breloom, the goddamn Icicle Crash Flinch, then it looks like I'm gonna, still get it. And what happens but a Draco miss, and I was raging very, 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 very hard, because that was so unbelievably stupid, because that was the game, but no, of course not. So, I mean, yeah, so, ladder, right? 2 GSC and now this, but yeah, so now we have a rematch against Chinese from the start of today's video, but the end of yesterday's video. So he's running the same team, and I'm running double electric. Was I running the same thing? I don't think so. What were we running against Chinese before? Was it? No, it was the Raikou Zapdos team. Yeah, okay. So now I'm running a double standard undisputed style Zapdos, Jolteon, Cloyster, CB Gross, Pert, DD-Tar kind of team. So credits to Undisputed for the general idea, of course. So here's something awesome I've been toying with, Jolly CB Gross. Now this might sound fairly blasphemous because its explosion no longer guarantees a KO on Skarmory, but it does cool stuff like this. Look, EQ versus Swampert, it has no lefties, therefore Endeavorpert, therefore max speed, therefore even max speed CB Gross is outsped. But since I'm Jolly, then I just EQ and 2 a KO it, and that is really sweet. I was just toying with Jolly CB Gross because Breloom is annoying, and Magneton is annoying, and Suicune and Cloyster, and the speed. I think it might be more suited to a Mixed Gross, because CB Gross still has to do its blow up thing. But this was a really sweet series of turns. So here comes Solrock again. I'm not sure what to go to. I figured Cloyster can take even a Banded Rock Slide, and if it's Adamant, which it probably is, then I can get a Spike up first, and that's fine. Then I can go back to Metagross, cause more havoc. But he decides to try and lower my amount of pieces. So he goes right for the explosion, takes out Cloyster. That's fine. So Zapdos comes back. Here comes Magneton. I'm going to BP to Swampert because that's my answer. He goes for a Toxic. So I go to T-Tar here? No, I go to Metagross because I wasn't sure if he's Toxic Protect or, I wanted to check for HP Grass as well. If I was checking just for Protect or a Snorlax switch, then I'd be going to T-Tar as well because Sand will rub it into Lax, but I was checking for HP Grass there. So I have a Metagross in on Lax. I thought about blowing up. I didn't necessarily want to blow up on the Magneton, but I didn't want to give Mence a free switch with EQ, but at the same time, he's not going to Mence here, getting it blown up or mashed, so I think EQ was a nice balance of not getting trapped by Mag. Arguably could have just gone for Mash because he doesn't want to just get Mag killed and become more vulnerable to Zapdos, for free if I Earthquake. Exploding into Magneton, that'd be fine, but yeah, I think either EQ or Mash was mostly fine, so I just EQ now. And now I go to Zapdos because I know Snorlax is not staying in, and I get it in against Salamence. Now, I should not have revealed that I have HP Ice already. I should have just kept the momentum going. T-Bolted, BP'd. Either of those two were fine, but not HP Ice, because now I have to deal with a Magneton again, which irritates my Swampert over the course of a game. So I thought about Ice Beaming here so badly because Hydro Pump is such an obvious move and his Snorlax is weakened. I really wanted to, but I didn't, and I regretted it. Instead, I go to T-Tar. So that's still not bad because Mence, I switched last because his Magneton is faster than my Swampert. So, you can also pay attention to the order in which Pokemon switch to gauge which one is faster. So that's how I knew that. And with Salamence being weaker, or Salamence coming in, then it would intimidate the Swampert because it switched first and not the T-Tar, so my Rock Slide is primed to KO it, and I just go for Rock Slide, and he goes to Metagross, and I'm thinking, well, I just got to weaken this Metagross, so now the conditions are more set for my Zapdos to clean up, and Jolteon, of course, as well, because he's really just got to make the most out of this lefty's Magneton in order to take it out, because T-Bolt's doing a ton. I get a lucky para there. So Yeah, now I should have been doing that earlier. Now at BP, he goes for a T-bolt, expecting me to stay in. I arguably should have even stayed in, honestly. That would not have been the worst, because he can't automatically... I really should have, so more regrets. Not playing this as well as the other one. So now I really wanted to Ice Beam again, but I didn't want Metagross coming in, or... I don't know, I should have. And now, even worse, I just go for the straight Ice Beam on Snorlax. So now I make a pretty decent move and go to Jolteon instead of risking my Metagross, and it lives even the return with Sand. Nice work, Jolteon. And now I get to put Snorlax or Magneton into Zapdos range. So now Zapdos is claiming one. So if I had played a little more aggressively overall, then this game would not be this close, but that's on me. Is my thing still... Oh yeah, I reached the end of the playlist. Alright, I'll add more soon, but for now, back to the start. Anyway, so Snorlax goes down. His only option is to go to Magneton. So now I gotta go to Swampert, who HP fires. Okay. And I just go for Hydro, and now I got a double to Zapdos again. No, I Hydro and miss. Okay, that one really sucked. I mean, thankfully he full para, but that really bit. Is now, even more toxic damage, and now I gotta be careful around the Ments. But now I think I go for Ice Beam. No, I just go for Hydro. Oh, no, that's not the move I made. Yeah, so now I know he's not gonna risk DD, because that would be stupid, so I just sack Metagross, because Swampert is still useful against the Magneton, potentially, and Metagross is not, because of Protect. So... and he can't risk DD, so I made the right move there. Arguably, I should have just gone to Zapdos, honestly. That might have been better, too. Because I'm still faster than DD Ments, and I'm always going to threaten it with HP Ice, and he's not going for Rock Slide there. And I still would be well out of range of a Magneton T-Bolt. So yeah, another move I could have made better. Yeah, watching these games in review really elucidates the moves I could have improved upon, so that's nice. Anyway... yeah, so this thing comes in again, he sack. I know I can just go for the save HP Ice because he's not switching Magneton directly into it. He's going to sack his own Metagross. So imagine if I had another sack here in the form of Metagross. I really could have done that better. So, I mean, hey, this is why we play, so we can improve. So now I know I got to chunk it. I really got to, I can't just, because now it's in Hydro Pump range. So now if I get Swampert in, then I can get it in... then I can go for Hydro Pump without it being a... Well, no, I don't want to go for Hydro Pump. It's still a prediction of Hydro versus... I don't know. I mean, worst case, thanks to my lucky T-Bolt para earlier, then I'm always just a crit or a para away from winning. But yeah, I go to... it's a tight decision here, because if he just HP fires trying to get my Swampert, then he will... and Zapdos stays in, and he just loses. Whereas he can still win if he T-bolts into Swampert. So with that in mind, I go for Baton Pass and go to Swampert, and he goes for a Thunderbolt. So luckily, even with Protect, which thanks to my para is riskier, so lucky there. And then he's going to Protect here. And no, he's not even going to do that. He's going to go to Ments. So I figured he's either protecting or switching to Ments, and I Ice Beam, and down it goes. So that one felt really good. However, it's still not over. That was a tough turn. But yeah, since I was not going to die to poison on the next turn, so it was risky. He thought maybe I don't want to protect because of the full para, and it's just a nicer move. It's a safer move to go to Ments because he's got to EQ and hope by para. So I felt he was not going to he was either going to protect or go to Ments, and if he protected there, I was going to double the Zapdos, and I would have to make something happen there. So I go for the Ice Beam, and that works. Now I got to switch to Zapdos, and he protects. It's not really about this as much as he now has to get a double protect to beat Swampert, a double protect through paralysis. So he gets the first, and I will still, thanks to resetting the toxic clock, then I will live this next one. So he needs a double protect through para, which I got through a T-Bolt para, of course. So, yeah, he would have needed double protect either way. I don't know. So, oh wait, no, the para was even more helpful because it meant my Swampert outsped his Magneton. So that also changed the course of the game. So I got luckier in that one. Yeah, I don't know. I think. Uh, well, I definitely could have played a lot of that a lot better. I was not nearly as aggressive as I needed to be in that game. I mean, okay, I did also miss Hydro Pump on the Magneton as it stayed in, and that would have changed the course of the game as well. So, we can chalk it up to both of us got unlucky a little bit, lucky and unlucky, and both of us could have made some better moves. But as for me particularly, then I could have definitely played that a lot better. All right, so we got a couple more games to burn through. So I think a couple of these are really fast, actually. So this one is against this player again. So Metagross, Heatran, not something you see every day. You generally see one or the other on offense. Not that it's a rare combination, but you don't see it too often. So he Fire Blast misses. I see Shuka Berry, goes to Gengar. I go to Clef just because I want rocks. So he gets a Sticky Barb, decides to trick back. So Trick Black Sludge is a very irritating set, and I should have seen the sub coming, but I decide, all right, well, I'm going to Soft Boiled, and I'm going to have to let a bird take it. I mean, I don't mind Spit Up Zapdos taking it, especially if there's no sand yet, so he gets a drop, which is why I switch out immediately. And now I go back to Zapdos, expecting Focus Blast, and I go to Fori, and he just tries to blow it up with Metagross, and instantly forfeits, so I thought that was strange, but I certainly wasn't going to complain. So another Gen 4 game against Paimar this time. Zapdos against my Moltres lead. I gotta switch on out of there. I go to Donphan. I see T-Bolt. I can't really threaten it, but I can't stay in predicting U-turn because if he HP ices, I'm not doing anything to him. So I go to Clefable on Heatran, or no, I go to Clefable. He U-turns, and instead of going to the Breloom I feared, he goes to a Heatran, which I'm like, okay, that's nice, that's manageable. I mean, Breloom without rocks up is not so bad, but it's definitely nice to know that there isn't a Breloom. So I get up rocks, and I figured, all right, if he takes out my Clefable with Heatran, that means his Rocker is dead, and I'll get the spin off. So here comes Metagross, and I trick now, and I give it a Sticky Barb, and I see Lumberry, and I'm like, okay, I think this is Jimmy Turtwig's team. So Agility Metagross, Offensive Suicune, Expert Belt Latias, Scarf Flygon. So, because again, Heatran Metagross is not the most common combination, so whenever they pop up together, I take note. So I go to Heatran, or I go to Fortress on the Metagross, which is Lum Agility, so not too much of a threat. And I am met with a Heatran double switch. So nice move, but this is why we like Protect on Fori, because you can just Protect and act like the Stealth Rock damage never happened. So, plus you get to PP Waste Fire Blast and he explodes Clefable, but that's fine because goodbye spinning. So he goes to his Expert Belt Latias, good move because it covers both my Donphan and my Fortress with Life Orb, Grass Knot, and HP Fire, respectively. So I go, or, Surf, but I think he has Grass Knot as well because it hits T-Tar a lot harder. So I go to Jirachi, which can wall it pretty nicely, and now I try to heal up Fortress to come in on the Agility Metagross, but he makes a great move and goes back to Latias. So he's really getting the most out of his offensive weapon, so very nicely done to him. So now I decide, okay, well, my specially defensive Zapdos without Sand is a great switch to an Expert Belt Latias, so I come in on HP Fire. Draco does, not even 50, and I'm going to roost that off with ease. And, yeah, so now I go for an HP Ice just to pressure the Latias and to hit the Zapdos coming in, which I don't want to face one-on-one, but since it is, I know it's a magnet because it does not have lefties, and that's the common item for non-lefties offensive Zapdos sets to run, and since he has U-turn, he's going to have HP Ice or Grass, usually HP Ice, and that means no Heat Wave, that means Fortress spins, and even, and he had to roost there, of course, so that was an opportunity, and even if Fortress goes down, then Donphan comes in and spins after, so I'm going to Protect now and do some Galaxy. It's very, very likely I live and I can get a Spike up, which would be wonderful. But he crits, so that bites, and I'm going to have to stall it out with Jirachi. Now, luckily, Jirachi is really good against his team, and with it being physical defense and all, then I don't fear Earthquake or even Explosion. So I figured he's not going to explode on a turn I'm primed to Protect. And instead he goes for EQ and gets a crit, and that really, really bites. And I get the Wish up, and I'll Protect for more lefties, and he'll die to Barb, and he'll explode anyway. But that robbed me of some HP, so some not so nice crits. So now he's going to go to Offensive Suicune, which I know is offensive with Rest, so it stalls out Clefable and stuff. So Now he goes for Hydro and is missing as he's dodging Body Slam Paras. And luckily, eventually I'm going to get one, so it's going to even out. And I go to Spinef Zapdos, knowing that I can Roar if he rests and then pressure it afterwards, but he full pairs again, so I think it, evened out or something like that. And then he forfeits, so great. So then there was this game, which was really interesting. So Breloom, I don't want to, my Latios is Trick Flame Orb. This is a team I edited based on an idea of ZF's. So it's Trick Flame Orb, and I don't want my Flame Orb to go off in front of Breloom. And, be forced into those mind games when I can just switch to Jirachi and get up rocks either on it or on T-Tar. So I get up those rocks, I U-turn to Pharaoh, to Magnezone and Pharaoh. He's not sending up spikes, so... he was more focused on T-waving and leeching than getting up a lot of spikes, so that's fine with me. Breloom comes in and reveals Sub, so I was just planning to HP fire it until it died, but now that I see he's trying to sub with Para, then I'm going to go to Jirachi, I'll break the sub, and I would rather that than give him a free sub and potentially, 2 KOs if I have bad luck with Para. So keeping up momentum with U-turn here, or no, I Body Slam. That's a nice move because it cripples Rotom too, because Rotom's a huge pain. And of course ruins Scarflando, so I go to Lottie now, and I don't mind my Flame Orb going off because it, because now I'm not facing Protect Breloom one-on-one. So, with potentially Spinef Protect Breloom, which would be a pain. So, yeah, Latios comes in, I'm not going to risk a Speed Tie or anything. I changed Surf to Healing Wish later on Latios, I think it's more useful. But yeah, I go to Reuniclus now, and I go for a Focus Splash just because I know T-Tar's coming in with -2 Latios wanting to switch out. And I don't really care about beating the T-Tar one-on-one. As long as I hit one, I'm good, because now it's in range of both the Lottie twins, and Scarf Chomp is a big threat as well. I don't want to risk Dual Chop missing, because Dual Chop sucks. Maybe I should have just, I should use 3 Dragon move. Actually, no, the Dragon Claw wouldn't even KO T-Tar from that range. I didn't want to get, Ice Beamed or anything, so Earthquake was definitely the right move, because I don't really care about anything else. Win the Speed Tie, missed the Draco, but it's still fine, because Scarf Chomp is massively threatening. Dual Chop doesn't miss there. I just gotta bring it down, so Latios comes in, Dragon Gem Draco, nothing else is coming in. T-Tar gets worn down. I arguably shouldn't have killed the T-Tar. Wait, no, it was Choppel, so it wasn't Custap, never mind. Yeah, laddering, So Jirachi, and now, Garchomp's gonna beat the Breloom one-on-one, but yeah, Jirachi just does that first. So this game was fascinating. So Latios, he just keeps his Politoed in on Magnezone because he was not afraid of, he thought I wouldn't T-Bolt because of Thundurus, so I at least get the Sun up and I get burned, so that might suck against Pharaoh later, but I get Rocks up and U-turn because that's what good Jirachi sets do, and nothing wants to come into a Life Orb Psychic from Politoed, so, from Reuniclus, so that's fine. And now if I get I'm not going to get too many opportunities to get it up, but look at Specs, Keldeo, and Rain. What a stupid Pokemon. So he stays in, and because Latios can't threaten it, so I just trick the Flame Orb a turn too late, but I give it to Thundurus, which I guess could be a lot worse. So I go to Latios, trying to Calm Mind, and I probably shouldn't have let it get to this. I wanted to be as healthy as possible for his Scarf Latios, but he goes for the Thunder, and the one turn he goes for Thunder, he gets it. I guess he could crit HP Ice or something, but that really irritated me, especially because it was so avoidable. But yeah, Calm Mind Latios almost won the game on its own from there, so. He goes for the straight Draco with Latios, no double switches, and now I'm really vulnerable to the Specs Keldeo because he got the Para, so I gotta do something dumb like Outrage immediately with Garchomp, which doesn't even KO, but now Pharaoh comes in, and I can Trick Room and win with Reuniclus, but it's still potentially dicey, so I get the Sunny Day at least, so my Latios can check it. But as he gets a, that gave my HP Fire the power to KO Ferrothorn and taking away Keldeo's Rain boost for Latios in one fell swoop. So, but he crits Power Whip, so I can't actually KO it. But, now I'm going to try and win with my Recover CM Latios once again. And he has Gyro Ball, no knockoff, which is fine, because I don't really need the Dragon Gem at this point, so even if he did have knockoff. So Gyro Ball is slightly more annoying, but it's still very, very doable. And at this point, he just forfeits, so that was great. So, oh, here's an interesting one. yeah, I switched up teams for a while. So I get up rocks because, you know, hazards or whatever. And Magnezone removes the Ferrothorn, which is not getting up spikes, so that's cool with me. And getting up rocks is crucial when dealing with both Kyurem and Volcarona. So I decide, no Sunny Daying on the T-Tar, just T-Bolt it, because that is important chip damage, and that will help out the Lottie twins later. So now, more momentum with Jirachi, and this way the Tentacruel never comes in without threatening to die. So we can get the spin-off here on Reuniclus, but it's going to die in the process. So T-Tar comes in, goes for Pursuit, which is definitely banded, and drops to Focus Blast in return. You know, so I wasn't expecting ban T-Tar because it's kind of dead, but you know, it's still very powerful. Not too actually good in the metagame, of course, but yeah, so glad I just stayed in and tried to blow it away for the other pokes. So now Volt comes in, and I have a Scarf Chomp, so I'm not really threatened by it, but I'm also fine because I can just Trick Room. You know, let's look at that interaction again. I just love those two moves going off on the same turn. Quiver Dance and Trick Room, and now, you know, Psychic isn't going to be too... Actually, no, it is too... Well, not with a second Quiver Dance, but, you know, Trick Room, it's getting hit hard enough to where... he's Life Orb Volk too, so even Giga Drain isn't going to keep him out of range. So I go to Jirachi, which might have been foolish. I should have just gone to Latios and just surfed. So I didn't risk getting Flame Bodied and losing to Scarf Latios or Kyurem or something dumb, but yeah. So now Kyurem comes in, I'm going to take advantage of Trick Room and Iron Head it, chip it. Because it can live stuff like Scarf Garchomp at full health. It's got bulk and it's got lefties too, so no sand chip. So then I decided to just sack Latias and I'm going to win with the dragons. So I do win this speed tie and hit the Draco, so he wasn't Scarf, so Scarf Chomp was cleaning him up anyway. But yeah, do I trick him with Flame Orb? Yeah, I do, just because I didn't want to risk something dumb like a bunch of Draco misses. So now that I tricked him to Flame Orb and he's burned and he subs up, then, you know, even Draco misses won't be enough to win him the game. So, yeah, so down it goes, and Jirachi wins the game with U-turn. Cool. This game was instantly over because my opponent just timed out. So now we have another game against Gen 6 Gengar, and he's using a team from Fall 2011, M-Dragon's Rainstall, called IR. So that was the Black and White 1 metagame, so definitely not suited to Black and White 2 with, you know, Keldeo and whatnot, Kyurem Black, so I should be fine here because I just lead off with Magnezone, Sunny Day, and he was expecting, like, I don't know, he was expecting me to switch, but I get a very free KO on Ferrothorn, so, I mean, this team just isn't ready for stuff like this, like Rotom, and yeah, so I get the Sun Up and Jirachi and Rocks and Quagsire, and makes a nice prediction, goes for Toxic on my Latios. That was a great move, but it's not going to be enough because just no matter what, he's got to do insane moves just to stay alive. Like, he's got to absorb the trick with Politoed, and what if I Draco? Then he was just dead. Which is not his fault. It's the fact that this style of team is just very difficult to make work. So now I Draco, Chansey, fine. Here comes Big Kyurem, no steals, so I'm just going to Dragon Claw, especially because I know I can Healing Wish to it later. And I'm just going to Dragon Claw everything, and, you know, Quagsire is bulky, but it's not withstand Kyurem Black Choice Band Dragon Claw bulky. And then there is the Politoed, and I considered... No, I do stay in on it because it's Specs, so even if it protects, then fine. I have Healing Wish, so I can be aggressive with it. So I think I go to Latios here, and now he's locked into Protect because he's Specs, so I just go to Magnezone. I make a dumb move and don't Sunny Day here, because, you know, T-Bolt just barely doesn't KO Tentacruel because Tentacruel is dumb. So, and, you know, I didn't want to risk Scalds, you know, being too powerful or something. I should have just Sunny Day'd, but, you know, whatever. So I Protect, I Draco just so I don't risk anything dumb, and then I Draco the next turn and also KO it. So, yeah, that's the game. Now we get another game against Jirachi Versace. And, yeah, I think... Oh, I'm on the other side. Yeah, okay, I was using the edit of ZF's Rain Team, and Politoed getting crit parried on the first turn really bites, but I get a Scald Burn in return, so, I mean, fair enough, I guess, because now Tentacruel can spin, hopefully no more Thunder Parrot action, and more importantly, I can get up T-Spikes, so I can limit how threatening Starmie is. Specifically, I can make sure Starmie is in range of Scarf, Scizor, Pursuit, so I don't have to make the choice between, the tough choice between U-Turn and Pursuit. So, I get T-Spikes, I get the spin-off, so, you know, Tentacruel sitting pretty right now. Protect, because Tentacruel is so dumb. So Scarf Chomp locks in, and I'm just going to take the Scarf Chomp out early on. So, you know, I'm very okay with that. And I'm just going to keep spamming Scald, and Magnezone comes in, not quite to a KO, and Thundurus comes in for free because Thundurus totally walls Magnezone. So I sub up as Jirachi comes in, and Thunder, and that's the game. So he forfeits. And today, the final game. Then Starmie, Gengar, Scizor. This is a very old school team. Had it not been for the Landorus Therian, it would have been very like something you'd face in Black and White 1. So I lead off with Scizor, with a Politoed, because Politoed is dumb and can just stay in whenever you don't need it to. It can stay in and survive against anything that isn't a Sand team, or like a Sun team, of course. But yeah, otherwise it just stays in and lives hits and dishes out Scalds, and it's dumb. And I just want to burn this thing. This team does not have a knock Pharaoh for other Pharaoh, so you gotta kind of do a Scald jig. But yeah, and I make a very dumb move by protecting here with Tentacruel instead of just Scalding immediately, and I give him a free sub, and he's got Thunder, so yikes. So now I decide to go to Scizor to trap him, and he Shadow Balls, trying to play it safe. And maybe he was trying to hit Thundurus, try to Volt Absorb the Thunder, fine by me. And he's afraid of Choice Band Bullet Punch, and I'm Scarf with Pursuit, so I was staying in no matter what. So now Scarf Scizor is pretty awesome, I will say that. So Stone Edge misses, which sucks for him a lot, but yeah, now I'm just staying with Politoed and dodging Leech Seeds, and you know, I can't keep off rocks permanently, but yeah, so but I do want to keep him off if I can. So stupid Ferrothorn and me misplaying with Tentacruel badly. So I sub up, and now after switching into a Leech Seed, now he can switch stall me, and I can't predict all these correctly because he has so many viable switch options. Like, see, I'm not going to Thunder between Lando and Pharaoh, so he makes a great move and goes to Politoed. And now, is he going to sack it? No, he HP Ices. On the bright side, nothing wants to switch into my Politoed long term. And he's not spiking, so fine by me. So I'm just going to T-Spike, and he just keeps trying to set up Stealth Rock because he does not know that if I spin from this range, I die to Iron Barbs, and therefore I don't remove the rocks. So on the bright side, I do get my T-Spikes out for Starmie, so that helps a lot. I can't get over to rocks now, but fine. I can at least set up Thundurus. Actually, I can't even set up Thundurus with a sub because it'll be down to 1% after rocks. So I really wasted Thundurus. Good job. Very well done. Should have just doubled back to Tentacruel, but I didn't. So now I'm trying to just slowly wear this Pharaoh down because Leech Seed takes forever to kill Tentacruel. So I'm just bringing it lower and lower and lower, and Starmie comes in, and that's awesome because if he spins, then I spin because Starmie doesn't do enough to Tentacruel because this one is bold. I usually prefer fast Tentacruel, but I'm thankful here. Although I doubt even fast Tentacruel would take 4% from Starmie. Well, it did 3% to this Tentacruel, so maybe it would have. But yeah, he spins and I live, and then I spin, so that's great. And yeah, so now that Starmie's poisoned, then I can pursue him with Scizor more feasibly. He Thunders, I try to sack Thundurus, but now he goes to his Ferrothorn, so I can sub up, not get Leech Seeded, and I play like an idiot, and I waste this because even U-turn wouldn't have broken the sub, and I just Thunder, and he stays in, and I basically look like an idiot, which I am, so I Hydro the Starmie, he doubles to Politoed, and I try to not be passive, but I was also dumb, and I just let myself get killed by Scarf, Toad, Ice, Hydro. I thought he might pivot or something, but that was just stupid, so my saving grace is that Politoed is really good against everything he has. So I just take another KO, thanks to that early Scald burn. Protect on Starmie, he recovers, so he's lacking something. So and it turns out he's modest. Or at least he's, no, I think he's like bold or something. Yeah, definitely bold, because that Earthquake did nothing. So I go to the Garchomp just to sacrifice it, expecting a fast Starmie, but, he's slow, and, I'm just going to pursue again, as he is afraid, and he just gets trapped. So he might have lived if he stayed in, but I was just like, I got to trap him again. So once again, Politoed, I'm squeezing every bit of recovery I can out of it because Protect is amazing. So, one-on-one against this Politoed, the only way he's breaking through me is if he gets Spadef drops from Focus Splash, which is kind of comical. But at the same time, he's going to need a crit with Lando, or, possibly several if my Politoed manages to heal up well enough. But, yeah, he goes for a U-turn, does a chunk because I'm Special Defense, because that's the good Politoed set. So at this point, it really is just Oh, it turns out he doesn't even KO me from here. So I was going to say Keldeo needs to survive, and that'll be that. But it didn't even come to that. So Polito comes in and win. So before we go, let's check how we're doing on the ladder. Let's refresh, actually, because I got disconnected. And then that'll be it for today. So black and white ladder, GSC and Gen 1, those aren't going too well. But, for Gen 3, then we've actually gotten pretty high up there. Right now, I believe we are... Actually, let's move over a little. Yeah. So Gen 3 right now, look at that. We're number 7. So that's pretty awesome. And for Gen 4 right now, then we are number... If it ever decides to show up. Yeah, it was doing this yesterday too. But yeah, we're pretty high up in Gen 3, so that's nice. I mean, it'll still be a climb to get up there, plus we got to get through the others, but hey, we're getting back to it, so I am glad I decided to do that little bit of in-class laddering. And if the Gen 4 ladder shows up, then that would be wonderful. Now just keep doing this. Come on, I gotta go soon, man. I gotta get lunch. Alright, well, we just gotta wait for it to show up, but I think we're in the top 10. Pretty sure, actually. Something like 6 or 7, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, maybe I should have set my goals to top 10 every gen, for the first 5 gens, because I think we've already done that. Yeah, okay, number 6. That's great. So, yeah, so that's where we are as of today. Gen 4 and 3 are doing well. The others, we're having fun, and we'll keep going up. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you next time.